when I was there, that's like everything is based on really like the TV and who you're with, and then where
Yeah.
you sit in the chow hall. So in order to watch TV, you're going to have to show your paperwork, or else you can't come into the TV room. So first things you want to do is get your paperwork, because you don't want to be stuck as the dude not allowed in the TV room.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard from some federal correctional officers that some establishments actually protect people with those sex charges, man. Like if you even intimidate them at all, your ass is gone. You know what I mean? I actually even heard that they
Yeah,
kind
they
of
will
roll in
shift you.
clicks. Is that
Yeah,
true?
no, it depends. I've seen dudes that are go hard on paperwork, like maybe like whatever race, who's more of like the person who's supposed to check these dudes, ends up getting called out to it, because in the federal system they have like um, kind of like undercover guards, even though they're in guard outfits, and they're referred to as SIS. And I don't even know what the acronym even stands for. It's just like SIS, and people will drop a kite and in fucking say something like, "Oh, so and so is asking for paperwork on the yard." So then your housing unit officer will come and say, "Hey, SIS wants you to go talk to him." But people like myself, if I were ever to get called into SIS, I tell that like a homie that I'm with, I say, "Hey, I've just been called into SIS. I need you to go with me." So it doesn't look funny that I'm going into SIS by myself. And or even like the captain or the warden. I remember one time I had got a black eye from playing softball, and a guard, called me out, and he's like, "Hey, go to the lieutenant's office." And so when I went to go, I grabbed another inmate and I said, "I got called to the lieutenant's office. Come with me." And even when I'm at the lieutenant's office, he's like, "What is he doing?" And I said, "I'm not having a conversation by myself, because people can see you walk in and
Yeah.
out." And so then next thing you know, it's like TMZ on the yard, like, "Yo, dude went into
Drama, drama,
SIS."
drama, man. I
You
tell
know what I
people
mean?
all the
So
time, man, mates are little birds, you
this is
know?
like something that people from your channel, might need to know too. Like solid dudes, you want to have another person with you. And if the captain has a problem with it, then it's like, then I guess I'm going to the shoe, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy as hell, man. Yeah, see, like in the state, Virginia, at least where I'm from, shit, I went into lieutenant's offices in and out, went to the desk, wrote paperwork, not bad stuff, but people can do what they want without someone thinking otherwise, because this is what happens. Whenever, like what you
I
said,
mean,
they call
that's
you.
just me too, though. Like
Yeah,
people will
yeah, yeah,
walk into the lieutenant's office by themselves, but I know that, like, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, I know how this system works, and I'm gonna make sure there's no issue.
Yeah, well, see, there's like in the what I've seen in the state, they have these inmates that anytime you have any kind of problem, like you get a charge, write up anything, or someone is trying to say that you did something, they have these things called like inmate attorneys, and these guys will sit in there. It's another inmate that lives probably in the pod with you, but he's like an attorney, so he will help you try to figure out what you want to do with the charges or anything that they're trying to get from you. So there's always someone in there that can spread the word, whether it's good or bad. They can even come out, even though you didn't do nothing, come out and say that he was snitching, just to get you tricked up. So it's a very tricky game,
Even
man.
in the feds, like sometimes they'll have like a group gathering in your housing unit, and it's like, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. Like it's a paperwork party. So when you land and you're with your cellmate, it's like you guys both pull it out together. Like he's getting his, you're getting, I'm getting mine, and you guys, look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. 'Cause as soon as I got my paperwork at any time, I trashed it. I didn't have that shit ever. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So it's wild. We always, people would just either get their name, because you got wristbands and stuff, or you just ask them their first, last name. And next thing you know, they'll be on the jack, the phone calling home, check up this name,
Yeah.
or they'll have their phone in the cell and they'll just straight Google that shit with their little whatever they got.
Like where I was, like it wasn't, you wouldn't put it past like an inmate to call his girlfriend and be like, "Yo, fuck, Google this dude. We want to know." just to make sure that he's still,
Yeah.
saying what he's saying. And then some dudes even have like, a guard that'll tell
Yep.
you like he's no good,
Yeah.
Like there was one dude who was kind of running with like in a regular car, and a guard put other dudes up and was like, dude, why do you hang out with this guy? He's like one of the worst ones. And they were like, what are you talking about? Right.
Oh
And
shit.
so that becomes an issue too, where somebody kind of like faked the funk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild, man. That guy definitely put him on Jump Street. I've seen that before too, though. All right.
Yeah, because
Well.
you're walking into your housing unit and a guard is standing there where they do what's called controlled movement.
Yeah.
So at the move, you're walking in, and the unit officer sometimes will have that unit for like 3 months. Like for 3 months, they move them around, So for 3 months, he might be on your unit, and he comes in at like noon, and he stays till 6 at night. So they get to know him, Like
Yeah.
if you pass by him, and you'll be like, hey, what's up? Or on the way into the unit, he'll be like, hey, let me pat you down.
Yeah. I understand. All right, well, let me ask you one more question, man, and we'll jump into what I really want to hear, the positive side of how you turned your life around and found your painting niche. What was the wildest thing that you might have seen in the feds, man? Was there anything I mean, it doesn't have to be. If you didn't see anything, it's no biggie. I just always ask the question.
Yeah, no, it's prison. You're going to run into these things, especially after the time that the amount of time.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
Like one good one, for instance, was I was in like pre-sentencing, and in pre-sentencing in a pod, they only turn the shower on for like a short moment in time. Like, the showers are going to be on from like 7 o'clock till like 9 o'clock. So everybody starts like throwing their towel on the shower, and there's only 2 showers. So you would have a line like, let me get after you. And, because you can't shower anytime you want.
Yeah.
So there was like a youngster, and, it was a black dude, and he was kind of young, and another black dude that was kind of like bigger than him. They got into it, not at that moment in time, but they got into it over the shower, like who's going next or whatever the case was. Maybe he was in there too long. People will check you too. Like, dude, you've been in there, like, why you know what I mean? Like, you're taking too long. So the little dude was able to get his hands on a shank, but instead of like actually using it, he went around and told other inmates and flashed it like, this is what I have, and this is what I'm thinking about doing. And instead of just like, like, don't talk about it, be about it. I guess somebody else went to the other big black guy and was like, yo, like, they fucking narked him out. And we're like, dude's got a shank. And so the big dude went and like called him out. And so in that one, they actually you could lock the door to your cell, and the only way to get out is to like, buzz it out. Once you lock it, you lock it. So him and like 2 other people take this dude and, call him out in the cell, and they literally lock you in. So you're in like, an 8x10, whatever it is. And, I think I was on the upper tier, and you could literally hear the movement of the walls. The boom, 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 boom. And then you already know, like, somebody's getting down right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you're not really always, like, prepped for it. Like, some people will line around the door because there's a little glass, you know what I mean? And they're looking through like, oh, damn. And they let him go at it. And this big dude just annihilated homeboy. Like, he came out eventually after they, opened the buzzer. And a guard, which is not in the pod, he's in like a glass hut, and he doesn't really know that people went into the cell and, threw down, And so when dude came out, I remember like he had teeth knocked out. I mean, it was just all bad. And even like, you just knew, like, I didn't like physically see, that one. And then there's just a lot of ones that you would catch on, and some of them you would laugh at, like, dude, these guys put each other in the headlock the whole time and just tied up, and you're like, let's see some punches, you know what I mean? And then everyone's yelling at him. And then I've seen dude like, take the mop handle, and break the mop off over someone's back, so, various things, and it comes with the territory.
It does, man. It does.
I remember being in medical, and then, you know, wanting to lock down the yard because a dude came in with a knife in his neck, you know. But
Jeez.
I would, you know, I carry myself different to where I don't know, like I'm aware of those things, but I don't get involved in them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people don't really like mess with me because I don't carry myself and I don't screw people over, I guess, let's say. You know what I mean? So there's nothing that can't be resolved, you know, with myself. So I didn't have a whole lot of interaction other than a time that somebody owed me money for some artwork,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump out the prison and talk about the artwork, man. And before we get there, I don't know if you heard it. I know my viewers had to have heard the sound, but right when you started telling your story after I asked the question, it sounded like the damn Matrix went off, man. It was a crazy sound. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear it. No. Was it on my side or your side?
It had to have been on my side or something. Hopefully someone ain't tapping in, man.
Right?
You know,
Yeah,
I was
no
like, what
doubt.
the hell? I know it's got to be in the video recorded, man, because I know I'm not losing it. This shit sounded crazy, man. Like some.
Well, it could have been that. So I'm at my art studio and it's a commercial building. So it gets cold in here because it's all like concrete.
Oh, no. This
So,
was like an alien sound, like an alien digital sound, man. It
huh.
was weird,
Well,
man.
The
It
only
was
reason
weird.
what I was saying is I have like one of those little floor heaters that plugs into the wall. And I remember turning it off because I didn't want it to like mess with our sound. So
Yeah,
I don't
no.
know, like, you know, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, this was
But
some
hey, man, the feds is crazy, bro. And like,
Yeah,
you know,
you never know, man. What's
I was
up?
on like,
Wave to him, everybody.
yeah, like for those that we haven't really got into it, you know, like they refer to my case as like transnational or
Yeah.
international organized crime. So what I did is I did it through not only the United States but multiple countries. So then it became like they labeled me as like this kingpin that it was, you know, running international crime, organized crime.
Yeah. What before we get into what you're doing now, man, let me ask you one more question. What was the most you think biggest lick you had at one time? Like how much would you say you'd make in a month?
So on average, I was pulling in like anywhere between like 900 to $1 million profit for myself to keep.
Jeez,
When
a
I was
month?
like, yeah, when I
Wow.
was like at the top, you know what I mean? It took a minute to get there. I didn't always make that,
Yeah.
but right when I got arrested, I was on that level.
That's crazy, man. That's definitely some weight.
So the amount of money I was making, just to give you like an example, like every few days I would make a couple $100,000 profit. So like when I kind of dialed myself in when I gave these dudes the clones, which was Kush, because I had them grow it for me, I was able to get like the type of profit margin where I could get like 1,100 to 1,500 profit on 1 pound.
Yeah.
So now you can imagine I'm sending out 400-500 pounds every few days, knowing that I'm going to make $1,000 times 400. You know
That's
what I mean?
crazy, man. That's crazy
Yeah.
as hell, man.
So the money was just insane. It
Yeah.
was like insane money.
It's
When
amazing.
I would spin it on a you know, machine, and literally sometimes it would take me days because I couldn't do it. I'd have to like take a break, or I got to run and do something else. And after a while, I had, you know, some people in my family just do the money counting for me because it was just too much, you know. And when I would count my money,
Yeah.
I would clean it up and I put all of the faces the same way, and then I put all the bills the same. And then I got online and I got the paper that you could get from like the banks. Like if you go get a stack and it doesn't have a rubber band, but it has like paper.
Yeah,
on
a
it.
little paper wrap. Yeah.
So when I would go, eventually, what we might get into it, I would buy a bunch of blow with the money that I got from, you know, from the cannabis,
Uh-huh.
right? And so when I would turn that into people, they could never say like, oh, it was short, it was off, because my money was beautiful. Like it looked like it came from the bank.
Yeah.
And you know, like if anyone were to, if the man rolled on me, I would always probably I had in my head like, oh, that's from the casino. I gamble. That's why I have so much. And it didn't look like dope boy money.
Yeah,
It
all
looked like,
crinkled up and not put together.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. It looks way
So
more
to some
legit and
degree,
professional.
that's why it would also take like hours. And then areas where they had like literally like trap houses in other states, like Detroit, Chicago, dude, they would send me grip of ones. Like a dude might owe me like 900 grand, and 900 grand would come in and there would be like 5, 6 grand in ones and fives. So it would just take forever to count. But when you ask like what's the most I've had on hitting a lick, so the organization that I worked with, they would front me, right? And so my bill would hover always around like 3 to 5 million, and I would never have to zero out. They would send me a message on my encrypted phone and be like, "What do you have?" And I'd say, "Oh, I have 1.7 in hand," and we would refer to it as a wire transfer. And so a wire transfer meant for me to go and buy blow with their money and then shoot them back blow instead of giving them actual cash. So they would give me weed and I would give them blow.
And then you get the money.
So I remember one time the crew that I worked with, the plug, he hit me up, and he's like one of the top ranking guys, like we'll say like a sergeant of arms, and this is the main person I deal with. And he's like, "Hey, we got to take a break right now because you owe us 9 million." And so I was like, okay, so taking a break just means they're not going to send me anything until
you reach that limit a little bit.
Yeah. So let's bring it back down to 5 million, or, you're 3,
Yeah.
So,
sounds like a typical bank,
And then so
for the most part,
interesting is, what they would do is like, let's say a dude's in Canada and he wants to get Canadian cash right there and right now, but he needs money like down in LA so that he can buy blow. Well, a Canadian that has maybe 2 million in cash, right? He might tell the dude like, "Hey, I have 2 million in Canadian." And the dude that wants the Canadian money is like, "I have 2 million in California." So we would trade, like they would charge points. Like if somebody in Canada is like, "Hey, I have 2 million, you need it now, give me 2 million, 100 in California so I can buy my blow, and I'll give you this 2 million."
So y'all were just scratching each other's backs, man, just making moves like that.
Yeah, and we call it a wire. Like people buy money, in Canada, or they would like transfer their money here in the States.
Yeah, sounds like it made stuff very convenient for both people, man.
Yeah, so and the reason they do that is because, for one, in Canada they don't use American dollar. Their currency is different, right? And then there was so much of a margin on a kilo that it was insane, bro. Like, so they would get a kilo from me for like 23,000 in LA, right? Then I would have it sent up to Canada, and then there's a fee for getting it to Canada. So you add on $500-600 onto that kilo. Then when it crosses the border, there's another fee, because all of the transporters get their money. Like, yo, I charge 600 per key, and I take it from X to X location to the X location. So there's different, what we call them, like TP, or we refer to it as like the TP, which is the transport. So the dude that's going to cross the border, he's also going to say like, "I want $600 on each brick that I'm bringing over." So by the time they get it, they might be into it for like 32 or 30, you know what I mean? And then these dudes were dumping that whole one for like 38 grand, 40 grand. So if they were going to make money off, the green, it almost like they didn't even care. Like they would just send it down just because they were going to kill it on the white. If that makes any sense.
It does make sense, man. That's crazy as hell.
So they were doubling it down, and you can imagine these people that I work with, like they're so wealthy, dude. I mean, they get in like they can make moves and pull strings like puppets because they own the whole city. You know what I mean? Like these people are like the Scarface of that area. At one point, they were getting so much of the blow from me. I was like, "Yo, like, is it 1980 up there? Or like, like, what is going on? Like, how do you guys move so much?"
Yeah.
At one point, these dudes ended up giving me to other Canadians up there. They were like, "Hey, one of our other members, he needs you to like get him the same thing you do for us."
Mm-hmm.
And even though I didn't sell that dude's bud, he might say, somebody else up in LA, moved his bud, and then they would be like, "Hey, Sin, can you have someone go and pick up money from another guy?" So I might go and pick up money, which is from another Canadian. I know this might sound confusing. So eventually the Canadians gave me like 3 Canadians. And at one point they gave me like the biggest dude up there. And at one point he was like, "Yo, can you guarantee me 100 or 150 bricks a week?" And I was like, I mean,
I guess maybe.
You know what I mean? So at this point, I'm moving like tons of like, the bud for these dudes. But at the same time, I'm getting their money from all of the organizations that they have. Like when I was telling you earlier, they have 1,700 pounds. They go to different crews all over the California basin, right? So
Yep.
all of those crews now owe those guys money. Well, now all those guys, if they didn't have blow, they would start saying, "Give your money to Sin." So aside from me taking the money that I owed them for the bud, I would pick up money from other people. And now I'm like, when I told these dudes at one point, like, "Dude, like, I just want to be a weed dealer, bro. I don't want to be Escobar."
Yeah.
And I didn't want to. I was like, "Man, like, this isn't like what I signed up for."
That's crazy as hell, man.
It happened, and it couldn't stop.
Yeah, well,
like,
when them head honchos see something good,
yeah,
they go for it. You know what I mean? And you were that connect, man. You were making moves, so I mean, just you got to put yourself in their shoes too. You probably would have been like, "Hey, we got to get him, and we got to pressure him to keep on going." You know what I mean? And
like just to kind of tell you, like the first time that I ever got into the white, so I was flowing hard with the weed. You know what I mean? Just moving like the biggest dude. I'm gonna go out on a limb and speculate and say I was probably the biggest weed dealer in America in 2010. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I just got caught. But literally, when I got caught, I owned and operated. I wasn't a pilot when I say operated, but I owned 3 airplanes. And in those 3 airplanes, I had pilots that were leaving this week while one was coming back this week. Another one's coming out. So they were like what I call doing this, like hovering the United States. Before I got arrested, I sold weed in 15 states, so I was dropping it in Chicago, Atlanta, Detroit, New York, New Jersey, all over the US. I mean, my planes were out every day, just moving and going, right? And so that was like already something big. And then I remember I would have what we call a sit down with these dudes at like MMA fights in Vegas. And so they came to me one time, and we do stuff like we don't even talk about like mention names. Like as soon as we all come into the room, because they're a crew. It's me by myself and like 7 other dudes that are from an organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would always have like a penthouse suite in Vegas. Like I was a comp player. I would be staying in like $5,000 rooms a night. These dudes come, and at one point I used to think like they probably trip on me, but I had to tell them like, "Hey, this is comp," like because they would be like, "Yo, you're flashy, bro. Like, what are you doing in a $5,000 room?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when they come into the room, everybody takes their cell phone. They go and I put them in like the master bedroom in a drawer. Everyone takes the batteries out. When we're talking, we're using hand signals. When I'm talking about airplanes, I'm doing this. And then I'm talking about club members. I'm touching, my hand. And we're in a room where it's just me and them. But because we're so like consciously aware
Yeah.
that we're those dudes that the room could be bugged and people, you know what I mean? So, you know, like I remember one time on another subject, I was meeting with somebody and I was doing hand signals. When we refer to the blow, we would do this, like you're starting a car. I would be like, yeah, I got those. And you know what I mean? So you're using like less verbal in the thing, right? So anyways, I was out there and the dude's like, hey, we're done. We're not doing anymore. And I was like, oh man, like I'm not ready to retire yet. I haven't, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I haven't set myself up. So when he says that, and at that time I didn't get permission to like send their product all over the US. Like it's like I only was supposed to be keeping it in my backyard. So it's way more of a risk and the potential of losing their product if I'm sending it to New York. So for the longest time, I just told them, yeah, I'm shooting it in my backyard in LA. And I'm just like that dude, you know? But in actuality, this shit's going all over the US. So eventually I broke it down to them and told them when they were like, why is the money not coming in fast enough? It's because the money's in New York, bro. And it takes a while to get it back. You know what I mean? I can't go up the street and see homeboy and pick up 300 grand, you know?
Yeah.
So anyways, when they told me it was over, I had people that owed me money all over the US. So let's say I owe them 5 million, but on the streets, I'm owed 11 million. You know what I mean? And so, but in the game, you're probably never going to get that money back. If you tell the people that owe you money, like if you're before they pay you and you're like, yo, it's over, they're going to be like, and you know what I mean? They're going to disappear with your money. They're going to use your money to pay the next plug. So when dude told me that, at first I was like, man, it's over in my head, right? But then he was like, yo, what we do, and he broke it down. He was like, we take the money that you've been giving us and the amigos go and buy, you know, the white with it, which now it started to register in my head when they would tell me where the money drop was. A lot of times I would go do the money drop myself. They would say, hey, and it would be a dude I didn't meet on a regular basis. It was like a brand new dude that I just now called and I just now learning about him 10 minutes ago. I would be like, hey, such and such. And it's a dude that hardly even speaks English. And I was like, yeah, I got something for you. And I'm dropping him 2-3 million. And he doesn't even know where to tell me to go. And one day this dude was leading me around like, oh, I'm over here and I parked there. And I eventually hit my Canadians back and was like, yo, dude, I'm out. This dude can't even speak English. I don't know what's going on. Like, you know, and so they broke it down. They were like, the money that you give us, we buy white and then we ship it up. And the dude tells me, we have like 5 million at a pad in Orange County, California. And then we have the like 5 that you owe us, whatever. So it was like 11 million that they kind of had. And they were like, we need that 11 million to be brought back up to Canada before we do anything else. And he's like, you know, the dude that we get the white from can't get any right now. It's dry. And he was like, do you have a plug? And so, you know, I'm like an LA dude and there's a lot of this in LA, but
Yeah.
that's not my thing at that moment. I don't go around and like sell fucking, you know, 8 balls or whatever to my bros. So I hit up one of my amigos that I normally sell Kush to. And I was like, hey, because I know he does that. And I'm like,
And he's
hey,
got the money too, obviously, if he's buying the Kush from you, right?
Right. But at the same time, I would front it to him.
Yeah.
You know, I would give somebody like, oh, yeah, you owe me 50 racks. You know, we'll catch up in next week and, you know, that type of thing. So I remember like hitting him up and saying, hey, you know, like I can't get any more Kush. I need to get some white. And I broke it down to him. And he was like, well, how much do you need? And I told him like a crazy number, like, I don't know, whatever it was. And I was like, $5 million worth. And he was like, whoa, that's like a red streak. You know what I mean? Like when you've never done a deal with somebody and they come to you and that's like a red flag. Like, yo, this dude's setting me up, you know?
Yeah.
But we had been doing business a long time. And he was like, well, what we could do is, you know, like he wasn't the dude, but he was like, my homeboys will probably do. And then we broke it down to where it's like 1. At first we'll do 1. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do with one, but like I'm definitely not gonna take one brick and transfer it all the way up to Canada. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he was like, we'll do one every hour. And I remember the very first time I did it, I was like hands on. And then after that, I just, washed my hands and had people that affiliated with me, like I delegated for other people to put their hands on the white, because for me, like, I'm not that dude, So
Yeah.
I did the very first one. I went and got a hotel up in LA. I went and gave the dude the money. He took off, brought one back, and I was like, oh, it's good. I'm like texting my people up top in Canada going, yeah, I got one, this and that. So at the end of the day, it took all day, bro. Like it took I remember waiting at the pool. The dude would come back with one more, and then
Why was it 1 an hour though? What the hell was the purpose of that?
I guess because they thought like if they were gonna get busted, like
they didn't want to get it all taken at once.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you're less likely to get cracked with like, a huge sentence or lose all that money. That's kind of the get down.
Yeah.
Even now, a lot of dope dealers will be like, if it's a first time we've never done business, it's like they leave it up the street and they'll have one, show me the money, then he brings it in, that type of thing. So, but once I did that, then the amigos were like, okay, we're good now. We'll do business and let's start tomorrow. So I remember the next day I was texting the Canadians, and the money they had at a stash house was a Canadian that was just like living in the States, and that was his job, and he got paid like a flat rate.
That's
like
an
20
amazing
G's,
job.
right? Like 20 G's a month, and you just sit at a house and, babysit, millions in cash. So I just start, telling him like, that dude goes straight to the amigo and bring the money. You know what I mean? So, I'm no longer like touching these things, putting them in my car. You know what I mean? Like I'm out of it. So what happened was I came back to the Canadians. I ended up working, and I got rid of all the money they had, log jammed up. It was all jammed up. And then like a week later, they came at me and they're like, hey, that was cool. Can we keep going? And I was like, man, in my head, I thought it was a favor, and I did it one time, but then it was like, no, like now all of a sudden I'm that dude.
You're damn Joe Blow now. You know what I mean?
and I was like, shit. I already knew like that carries a way bigger prison sentence. And I was like, man, like, nah.
Uh-oh.
It says my battery's getting low.
Uh-oh. Shit.
Okay. We're still good for a quick minute though.
Okay.
We'll leave it.
You good?
We had a timeout for a battery charge, right? So
yeah,
I think we were somewhere in the mix of now all of a sudden I'm like the white powder plug.
Yeah, the Joe Blow. Yep.
And I'm like, no, like I'm not that dude,
Yeah. I mean, dude was kind of saying it was going to end. You kind of had to adapt, right? So
right. Yeah.
I mean, like could you have said no and just kept on doing the whole Kush thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because what if there was a possibility and I couldn't get the dude the white? Yeah. I don't think he didn't even really know that I could. Yeah. And it was like this miraculous thing, like it all happened, and then in like retrospect, when I went to the amigo and hit him up and was like, let's start doing business like that, I think he was like, wow, this is like a huge opening door of like him making money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I refer to it as like, now I'm the golden child for those guys. Like, when are they going to have a customer fall in their lap and be like, yeah, we want to get like 400 or 500 bricks a month?
Yeah. It's, believe it or not, that's kind of hard. That's kind of hard to come by. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Like most people are like, let me get one. And then you're dealing with like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like it's people have to work to that level to move that kind of amount of products. But I went from 0 to moving hundreds. Like my first deal was hundreds of bricks.
Yeah, you lucked up on that one too with the guy too. That's wild, man. Well, I mean, I'm sure you got plenty of stories, man, that could go on for days. And I would love to have you on again. But what do you think would be? Because I still want to hear about what you're doing now. What do you
Yeah.
think would be the number one learning experience you got from all this? Like, what would you say you learned the most from it? You know what I mean?
That's like, that could be like, how do I unpack that? So that could be like, how do you, now you take the legal cannabis side, and do I learn like that way and make adjustments on how not to get caught, or how to do it legal,
Yeah.
or like how not to like screw off my money? Cause like I spend crazy money, bro. And like retrospect, when I'm laying in my rack in the cell, you're like, man, cause I literally burned through all of my money, and I didn't bury money. I didn't have a bunch of money because I used my money to re-up all the time. So
Yeah.
that probably would have been something huge, as I would have been like, yeah, let me like bury some money. Like it did in my head, I didn't really think it was like a big deal. I always thought, if I get cracked, I'm just going to maybe do a couple years, some cannabis, and, everything's, it's all good. It's all good. Right. But, I mean, I do know there are ways to like, get back into the industry that are on the legal side, or how
Yeah.
not to get caught side, or, like, oh, I should have, not used all my money to re-up all the time, or maybe I shouldn't have gone to the strip club every week
Or
instead.
$5,000 rooms and shit like
Hey,
that,
like
you know?
just to get an idea of like the level that I was on, I would travel to some of these states that I would drop, the green in, right? And let's say like Atlanta. Well, when I wanted to go out to an Atlanta club, there's a lot of like hip hop community, and there's a lot of blacks. I might be only the only white boy in the club. So because I have money, I would hire security to come with me. So I would have dudes that look like Kimbo Slice.
Oh,
You,
shit.
you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes more.
That must have felt good walking in with those guys by your side, man. Like, get the fuck off me, man.
Yeah,
Get
I
him,
mean, these
Debo.
dudes,
Get him.
like, that's a whole nother story too. Just to like see my get down, like walking through an Atlanta nightclub, an Atlanta strip club, and I'm the only white dude in there with two big, football player black guys, like smashing everyone to get out of my way. You know what I mean? Like when I would always buy like bottle service, and be on the VIP, and then I would tell them like, hey man, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and they would smash the crowd out, like running like blockers. And then when I would get to the bathroom, they would just stand by the door and
That's
make
badass, man. I ain't gonna
right?
lie, man. I might just buy that for one night, just so I can experience it. You know what I mean? Just let me get
Hey,
two
man.
bodyguards one night, so I can go take
Yeah.
a piss in a fucking packed nightclub and let
Right.
everyone watch bodyguards stand there. That'd be
Right?
amazing.
I mean, I had some good times with the whole like bodyguard stories, but they're like, for instance, when I talk about spending money, there would be like famous rappers that would be in the club. And let's say I went to a strip club and we would order money. And you've seen it in all the videos, I order 5-10 grand in ones, and here I am, and I'm with my crew, and I got stacks of ones. The bodyguards would hold my money when I'm at a place like that. And I would just like give it to my homies and give it to other people, let them throw it up. A lot of times I wouldn't even throw it up. You know what I mean?
Well,
But
bosses don't throw money; they just hand it out.
oh man, I know that's right.
That's
So,
cool
I mean,
as shit, man.
yeah. So a lot of that type of stuff, like looking back and how to do things differently.
Yeah, man. And I'm
So
sure there's a lot of
for all
other people
those
that have done
players
that
out
too.
there, man, save your money.
Yeah, save your money. So that's probably the best thing you probably learned from it. Save
I
your
mean,
damn money, man. Don't blow
right
it.
now, what's going on with the pandemic situation, right? Like people are running out of money, and them dudes that are them dope boys on the big cash, like their business, it's not really stopping here in LA. It keeps going,
Always.
but at the same time,
They're taking a
things
little
are gonna-
lick.
people are going to get desperate, man, and they're going to want to start hitting people, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Shit's going to
Yeah.
get crazy. Or I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say shit can definitely get crazy very quick, man.
And hey, the first of the month is creeping up real quick right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A lot
man.
of people don't have it, so save your money.
Yeah, save your money and buy a lot of canned foods. you know,
Right?
you never know. You know.
Yeah, I've been peeping you out on the gram. I know you're all stocked up.
Hey, you be surprised, man, how fast them damn kids, when they ain't no snack foods, they'll eat greens out the cans like it's damn honey buns or something. I'm like, shit, these kids
Bro,
eat everything.
I've been bad. I try to buy that, but then I also get tempted. Like, let me get some cookies. You know what I mean?
Like, it's cookies, man. I need cookies.
You already know. Like, even for me, like, I don't want to keep making multiple trips to the store.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like you got to buy the stuff to where you don't have to keep, because that's like, you know, you can get yourself, you know, caught up by going to the store and touching the cart. And,
yeah, that's how I am. I'm very, you know, like, I got groceries the other day, and I wasn't planning out, but I ran out of Coca-Colas and some other things. I was like, I gotta get
like
these
I went
things,
the other
man.
day just for eggs.
Yeah, man, and they put it in the back. It was a delivery thing. You know, you call them, tell them what parking spot you're in. They bring it in, put it in back of my SUV, and I reversed it, and I sprayed. I used a whole. It might have been wasteful. It was probably wasteful because I ain't got many of these, but I used a whole damn can of Lysol. Every freaking item I had, man. I sprayed it down. I can't be too cautious, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing what I do is I bring it up to like my back sliding glass door by my kitchen, and then leave the bags and stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
3 days quarantine the food.
As soon as I come home, I change my clothes on the back patio, and those like aren't coming in. Like, I'm crazy with it.
Yeah, man, and that's exactly how I am, and I think everyone should be until this shit's done and over with. But all right, man. Well, look, let's wrap it up. Let me ask you, man.
Yeah.
What the hell do you got going on now? Tell the people a little bit about what you got going on now and how they can come over there and check out your beautiful artworks, man. Because they're selling. They're selling.
Yeah, man. So while I was, you know, people would trip at me like while I was in the feds. I was kind of like gearing up to do what I'm doing today. You know, I would tell people, oh, I'm going to be an artist. And, you know, that's kind of like when people are like, they want to maybe be a musician or be an actor. And you're like thinking, come on, man, like that ain't going to work. You know what I mean? So people were like thinking that. So before I left the feds, I started stacking artwork, and I would send them home to my dad's house. So eventually when I hit the street, I had about 150 paintings ready to go. And that's a problem with most artists. They don't accumulate that inventory. You know, it's like the cannabis, you have to have the inventory to shoot to a gallery, to shoot to this dude, you know, I'm shooting a 10-pack here. It's the same in the art world, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And so before, as an inmate, I started saying, well, this is like a savings account. And I started kind of studying, you know, like a little bit of the art market. Like people would mail in from the outside, like Instagram artists, you know, influencers. And there's even a dude that does Monopoly. People probably know about him, will probably get comments, is referred to as, you know, Alec Monopoly. And so he's kind of like, people always refer to him as like a trust fund dude. And he's like really like faking the fact that he's making all this money as like selling artwork.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so in a way, like I kind of caught wind of it, and I was like, like me, I'm the truth as far as like, I served 10 years, you know, I'm an outlaw, I'm a criminal. I thought, you know, I'm going to kind of like poke fun at the art world, you know, like some of the art world is kind of like smoke and mirrors. You know, they come from people with money, and it's all like Instagram influencers. Like a lot of this stuff isn't theirs. Everything's fake. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this Monopoly character, which is now kind of like pop culture. A lot of artists, you know, paint from, you know, the Monopoly character. So I was like, you know, I'm going to kind of like clown on some of these dudes. So it's meant to be like, how do you say, like sarcastic and like the irony. But then I also paint the Monopoly character, which is why I use the name Sinister Monopoly, is because my character it's really me. You know, he's a criminal. He does dope deals. He does money laundering. He rolls with guns and outlaws. And so it's kind of like me being like calling out dudes nowadays, like even, like clothing brands like Supreme and some of these dudes that people think that they have like street cred and they're big time, street labels and streetwear, and middle America and society are giving these dudes props and like clout, acting like they're the truth. You know what I mean? And kids are looking up to these dudes, and all they are is dudes with money that are trying to be what some of us like real G's are, if that makes any sense.
Well, that makes perfect sense, man. Perfect sense.
Like,
it's a gimmick. It's a fucking gimmick.
Yeah.
And we eat it up, like, or the majority of us eat it up.
It's kind of like, have you ever heard of the street artist that does like graffiti memes and he calls himself Banksy?
Oh man, that dude is
right?
he's checking. Badass, dude. Right. He did. I remember. Look, I remember he did one. I don't know if you've seen it. He was sold one. I think it was like for like, I don't know, somewhere in the millions, right? He sold it right there on spot, and then immediately after they sold, it was actually a false painting that he had up there, and it shredded as soon as someone bought it, like in the frame.
People could Google it if they don't know about it.
Yeah, it's really cool, ladies and gentlemen. Go check out Banksy, this dude, and he's like, I think no one even knows what he looks like, right?
Yeah, he hides his identity, but oftentimes what he does like graffiti memes. Yeah. He does do some art that you could hang on the wall of your house, but for the most part, it's all literally done in the street, which is known in today's world as a street artist, right? And so he pokes fun at some of the upper echelon of the art world. So in the same kind of way, like I'm not copying another artist that does like, Monopoly. I'm kind of like clowning on these dudes, almost like I'm going to pull your card because you're not really who you're claiming, and you're not this street artist, or you're not this. And, like they're just a bunch of like, kids that their businesses are not going to go under because they got the money to back it by the trust funds. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, man.
Like a real G might be like, yeah, I'm going to start a clothing brand, but he might not have a whole lot of money. So if it doesn't work, he's going to fail, right? But his company might have been like way better than some of these dudes that have a ton of money. And even if you look at like, where I live, I grew up as a surfer, and, we do skateboarding and X Games and snowboarding. Some of those brands within the streetwear, they're just huge corporations that are what's called like a culture vulture. And they're stealing from the cool kids, and they're stealing our swag, if that makes any sense.
They got the money to do it. You know?
So it's kind of like, that's kind of what I do, is I just try to do stuff that's like satirical is the word for it, where I poke fun at things and I have funny, and I just make the Monopoly dude is kind of like my brand. Yeah. So I had to find that as an artist. I taught myself that in prison, when you look at a brand and you say like, Amazon, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, their logo and you see it. And a lot of artists make this mistake, is they don't know what makes them significant. So somebody walks in a room and they say, oh, that's a sinister Monopoly, right? So how do you do that? When I was in prison, inmates would come and like the homies would be like, yo, paint me a 64 Impala. Yo, paint me the Day of the Dead, or paint me a Raiders, thing. So like eventually I honed my skills and I can paint anything. There's nothing I can't paint. I could paint Muhammad Ali's face perfectly, And so, but I just chose the Monopoly dude because I just thought like, being once like a huge kingpin with the money and the outlaw, like that's my character. We all have a good side and a bad side. And people, when they ask me like, why the Monopoly guy? You know what I mean? So I sometimes just tell them like, look, like when you're playing Monopoly, the board game, and it says go straight to jail, do not pass go. Well, that's my character. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So like we all have that good, the bad, you got the angel on one shoulder, the demon on the other. And so like, that's my get down, is I just have fun with it and try to like, bring the truth, like the real grit of being, a dude who's in the streets, in prison, and just try to show something that's more raw than all these dudes that pretend.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
man. And
Like,
as soon as I seen your stuff, I was a fan, man. And seen a little bit of your character, I was like, man, this dude's really cool. And it's an amazing thing. How much are you selling these pieces for nowadays?
I mean, it kind of depends, like I do even like, some of them, not all of them, I can do in like the prints, like nowadays they have like canvas printers. So you can actually print, on a canvas, and that might be anywhere between, a couple hundred bucks, like to like 1,000, right, for a print.
Yeah.
Or, you start to do what's called like, artist proof, where you're saying, oh, I'm going to make, 150 of this image. Then those start to be a couple more thousand, right? So then you get into like original pieces. So right now my originals, depending on, like if it's an art gallery, more than likely it's going to be marked up because we split percentages, right? But if somebody comes to me directly, then, there's, I work with them on the price. So prices can be anywhere between like $5,000 and, up. So recently, there's an art gallery that has the very first Monopoly that I ever did in Terminal Island, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just left it with him on consignment and told him, like, you can clearly tell that my skill level was like really beginner compared to like what I can do now. And he's like, this is the first one? And he was shocked. And I was like, yeah, that's the first one. He's like, I'm going to list it for $1 million. Granted, it may never get $1 million, right? But I have seen other people, other galleries, when I first got out and I was in a halfway house and I was like hungry to make a name for myself, hungry to make money, I started dumping off my first batch of 150, like pretty cheap, a few $1,000s. And these dudes started finding out about my story. And they're like, dude, this is like the movie Blow. This guy's like a Netflix series. He's a legend. And there's all these talks. And so they're like, man, like I already know where this is going to go. So some of these dudes started buying my artwork and instantly like relisting them for 100 grand, 75 grand. And,
Oh my God.
Getting some traction like that, And so with my art, I've done some stuff for like, some like rap moguls. I recently did a piece for Floyd Mayweather. And so sometimes you don't always want to disclose some of the prices on those guys, but in the goal is to make these at some point a minimum price point, and then just keep bringing them up. So you as a collector down the road, you maybe bought a piece for $5,000, and 2 years later you're like, yeah, no, the going rate is like 30, 50, 50,000. So at some point, as I've only been on the scene, I've only been out of the feds like 15 months. And in that 15 months, I've sold 85 originals, just like bing, 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 bing. And like the first year, I don't know many artists that sell 85 originals like in a year. Some of these guys, they sell like 10 in a year or whatever. So I'm just out here grinding, and like soon I like to tell people, get one now while the price is low, because these dudes that are buying them and listing them for 175, pretty soon that's going to control the market. Like any business, I can't have someone up the street sell one for 100 and then I sell one for 5 or 10. It just, that's a problem. So right now they're affordable, and a lot of people that aren't on that level to spend that kind of money, I do have like little paper, like poster style prints and lithographs to try to like, cater to each demographic,
Yeah. That's crazy, man. I could sit here and talk to you forever about the art game, because I'm an artist as well, and
I love it. From dope dealer to art dealer.
It's crazy, man. Well, damn, dude. I mean, we've been going almost 2 hours. Damn. Almost 2 hours, man. Time flies, boy. I tell you what.
So like everybody always says when I go to do these types of interviews, like, man, there's so much there. Like
there is.
How do you, compress it?
You can't, man. And I'm sure there's a lot that people don't even know yet.
Most people, they break it into like, part 1, part 2, or do a little teaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, there's a lot there. Like the life, it needs to be a movie or a book, you know.
It
And
damn sure does, man.
right now, before this happened with lockdowns in society, I had some people that are like working on getting deals for like documentaries. There's always talk of like Netflix and HBO, or I've already had people that want to produce my story into a movie, but for me the money wasn't right.
Yeah.
Like people come nowadays and like, oh, let's independently produce it, let's get some traction, and I'm like, no, like I'm not producing anything without getting a check.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll do stuff like with you guys, like in our genre of like prison YouTube, but I'm not going to do a blockbuster
full-fledged flick. It's got to be damn blow type shit,
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'll tell you what.
It really would be an incredible story because you have like the high society, like when you look at Fast and the Furious, you got the cars and the excitement and the adrenaline. With mine, it's got everything, bro. It's got, the money, the rock stars, the drugs, the rock, you know what I mean? It's like encompasses everything that creates a blockbuster, legendary film, like American Gangster. And, I feel like every generation needs that movie Blow, needs that movie American Gangster. So now the kids that are like the seniors and juniors in high school that maybe don't know about the movie Blow, they want to see like, yo, let's see this dude Sin's movie, because now all of a sudden I'm the Scarface of 2020.
And you would have a great ending to it too. You're out here actually not dying in prison like some of the other people. But the last movie that I've seen that was really good, that kind of falls in line with this, I can't remember the name, but it was with Tom Cruise. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know the name, but somebody told me to watch it, and I checked it out.
Wow,
and
dude.
Like me and the dude had a lot of similarities. I mean, obviously, I didn't work for the government like he was, but, we were doing crazy things. Like there's even, I know we've been going a long time, an interesting story, like in the movie American Gangster. Are you familiar with Frank Lucas?
Yeah.
So Frank Lucas goes to Vietnam, and he brokers a deal to get, the H, right?
Yeah.
So back when I was moving a bunch of the white, I knew that these things were happening in South America with like, you can get a brick for like $2,000, $4,000.
Dirt cheap.
In a way, I finagled my way and got in touch with people in South America. And they were like, yeah, they're like $3,000 to $5,000. And I was like, well, I'm coming down.
Shit.
I took a trip down to South America. I won't like disclose the country in case, my bros that still have connections to those countries.
Yeah.
But I went down there and I set up, my own runway in the jungle. I met with people, and I was ready to pull this, like let's do this thing. You know what I mean? And the planes were going to start flying in, picking up bricks in South America and bringing them back. But there's a lot that entails. You have to bring it into Mexico, and then you got to get permission from Mexican, people, the hierarchies, then to bring it into the States. Yeah. So as I was setting it up, I already had pilots arranged, but then pilots tripped on me, dude. They started thinking like, you're nuts, bro. Like, where do you come up with this? You're just all of a sudden now you're in South America and you want us to fly down and pick up a couple 100 kilos, and I'm like, let's go.
That's crazy, man.
You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of, and even one of my bros like here in the States in LA was like, yo, dude, do you know that they have like, government people that they'll spot you in a restaurant, and for just having conversations, you could get hemmed up for conspiracy, bro. And it's kind of like those movies that Tom Cruise, those agencies that he was working for, they have those like Interpol type things all over, and they will spot Americans in countries, like what are you doing? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like some of that can be, caught on. So maybe it was a blessing that I never fired that up.
Yeah, maybe, maybe, down there, South America shit gets crazy
I've always been the kind of person where I just got huge cojones, man. And I make shit happen. And I used to do like, so in my heyday, I was bringing the white from Mexico, taking it into Canada, running the States. It was a multi-country organization that I ran, and it was like, it's like an Amazon of today, but in the dope world. you know?
It's crazy, man. Only the things you've seen through your eyes, my friend. I get it. I get.
I don't know that there was many people. I don't know that there's many people in the United States that could simultaneously drop cannabis in multiple states. Like I remember, like right before I got arrested, I had like stuff had landed in Detroit, it had landed in Atlanta, and it was all like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, dropping here, dropping there, like you know what I mean, and in big ways, you know.
That's crazy,
So
man. You know.
I love reliving it, man. It was good times.
I bet you do, man. I bet you
Yeah.
do. Oh, that's crazy, man.
Sometimes I think when I go to do these interviews, and like I have to try to remember because you know I've been in prison 8 years and I got arrested, and I'm trying to think like, you know, but it's still there. You know, you can't unsee these things that I've been through.
You can't forget those bodyguards.
Oh man,
That's funny,
people
man.
would trip on me. They'd be like, "Who's this white dude?
Yeah,
He's got
yeah,
some balls to be up
yeah.
in here."
He's got a lot of ones, man. He got a lot of ones. That's Sinister Monopoly boys. All right,
Yeah.
all right, man. Let's wrap it up.
All right, bro.
Let's tell the people really quick. I gotta have you back on, man. I gotta hear some more stuff, but
Yeah,
tell the
man.
people
I
really.
would love to, bro. Anytime. You know what I mean?
Sounds
like, just
good,
know
man.
that you got my green light. And you know what I mean?
That's good, man. Because you know,
Yeah.
it's not very often you get to talk to someone that's been through stuff that you've went through, man. And it's an amazing thing, man. Go ahead, tell the people where they can find you, man. Do you got any kind of social media going on? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. So basically, when I first hit the streets, I thought, you know, I never did social media before.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, let me start with Instagram and let me learn the Instagram get down. So basically, my main footprint in social media is on Instagram, and it's under Sinister Monopoly. But since I've kind of like been involved with some stuff like what you're doing, I recently started a YouTube channel, and I want to bring, you know, like my art life and stuff that comes along with it to that channel. But at the same time, my channel looks weak, and so I'm not really doing a lot of stuff until I could like bring a fan base there. So if people want to eventually subscribe to my YouTube, it's also Sinister Monopoly, right?
Excellent.
And so, and that one I'll be like, I want to start doing like time delay videos where I'm painting.
Oh yeah.
You know, coming with me to art shows and events, and you know, like incorporate some of the prison, but I really wanted to emphasize, you know, my art.
Yeah, and that sounds amazing, man. You know, I don't know if I'm subscribed to you yet or not. I think this might be the first time I found out you had a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's pretty pathetic. I'm somewhere around like 600. You know what I mean? But
ain't nothing wrong with that, man.
If there's a conversion rate from your followers, you know, I can be off to the races.
I can almost guarantee there will be, my friend.
I have a camera crew right now, right, that will follow me around, and they've been archiving my content. So they have like art shows, they have events, and they have me doing autographs and meet and greets, but they haven't like edited those down into, you know, episodes, because it's like, what's the point? You know, really, I want to wait until I get the conversion of the fan base to really start, you know, feeding them all that content.
Exactly, man. And that's right. That's the right way, man. You're getting out there. I mean, all it takes is a few good interviews, and you'll be right as rain, you know?
Yeah, right? Like, hey, look at Ryan, man. He got it popping. He
did, man. And I watch his stuff on a regular basis, too. Sometimes I'll watch it all the way through, so I didn't know his little line. What does he say at the end of his videos? You know what I'm talking about?
Palabra.
Yeah, I still don't know what it means, but he got me to say the shit.
Hey, you know what? Like, I hit him up, and I was like, man, like, I need a rollout word, because now everyone it's like a brand, bro. When you're branding your name, you got to have that catchphrase. And I'm like, man, I need a catchphrase.
Damn right, man. Everything needs a little catchphrase, a little brand, a little image.
And so I was like, let me run this one by you. So like when I was more hands-on here in the LA streets, I might roll up to your crib and like shoot you a 20-pack, 100-pack. And then as I'm leaving your house, I'll be like, all right, bro, suck it easy. And people at first like, what did you do? Like, they don't understand. And then
what the hell did you say to me, man?
Yeah.
What the hell did you say to me, man?
There was one time I went to dinner with some bros, and we had some Brazilian MMA fighters, and they didn't know English very well. And at the end of the night, dude shook my hand, and I'm grinning, and I was like, all right, suck it easy. And he had this big old grin. And as soon as he heard me say "suck it easy," it went from like this grin to a frown.
Oh shit!
And then in the Brazilian language, he's like, "Oh no, you suck it easy," you know. And I was like, "There, maybe that needs to be my catchphrase." You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm sure you'll find one, my friend. Palabra.
Yeah.
I remember that shit. You know, that's
What
a
about
good
you?
look.
I haven't watched enough of yours. You got a little out or a catchphrase?
I ain't gonna lie, man. I'm a little bootlegged. I'm a little behind on all that. You know what I mean? Somehow
Yeah,
I'm making it. Somehow I'm making it, though. You know?
Man, you're more than making it, bro. Props to you, bro.
Hey, we're growing every day over here on 23 and 1, and it's an amazing thing, man.
I gotta say, like, I know we've been going and we want to wrap it up. I love the name. When I first heard about it, I was like, man, I wonder if like the squares hit you up and like, what is 23 and 1? Like, what does that mean?
They do. Plenty. Trust me.
You know?
Yeah, and you know, I had a couple names before this. You know, I had a couple names, so this one.
I think the name is dope, bro. I love the name.
Yeah, dude, and I like the little intro I got going on. It really sets the mood, sets the pace, man. I think I'm going on the right direction. I got a lot of growth though. I need to grow a lot more and get a little deeper into the whole business side of things, I guess you could say, the branding. But you know, it takes time, man. I'm a one-man army, and I got 4 kids, so it gets stressful at times. But I'm going at a slow pace, man. And
yeah, bro.
I appreciate you coming on to the show, man. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow him, I'm gonna leave everything pinned in the comment section, description of the video, so you could just. It's one click away. You go over there, hit the subscribe button. I'm sure y'all will be highly entertained with his stories, just like I am with yours that you just told today, and Ryan's.
Yeah.
You know, y'all seem to be kicking it pretty closely, right? Y'all are good friends, right?
Yeah. Well, we didn't know each other till recently. We did like a meet and greet, and then we just kind of have like a lot of similarities, you know.
Yeah.
And so him and I, we tend to clown around. We grew up as like the class clowns, and we joke and we just have fun with life, you know? So it was like a natural thing for us to kind of like exchange numbers. And now we're just kind of doing it and, you know, hanging out, you know, talking smack, you know?
That's amazing, man. And, you know, when all this shit that's going on is said and done,
yeah,
I got to come down there. I got so many people I want to meet in California, man, you know?
Yeah, man.